Well, good evening, and welcome again to Song and Sermon. I wasn't going to do a song this week, spare you the pain of having to skip over this part, but I thought I would anyway. And the reason is because this is such an appropriate song for our scripture reading today. And it's Billy the Bum by John Prine. It is about an individual who's handicapped, and it is a critique of folks who rely on their religious inclinations rather than their humane inclinations. So I'm just going to sing it, and then we'll go on from there. Billy the Bum. It's in the tradition of over 100-year-old folk tradition, and so Carter family and all those kinds of folks. In fact, on the original album, when John Prine plays this, he's accompanied by David Bromberg, who is no lightweight in the business. Anyway, here's Billy the Bum. Billy the Bum lived by the sun, sang of the hobo's delight. He'd prove he could run twice as fast as the sun, losing his shadow at night. Now he loved every girl, this curly-headed world, but no one will know it seems. Oh, two twisted legs and a childhood disease, Billy, just a bum in his dreams. And he was just a gentle boy, a real fluorescent light. Cried pennies on Sunday morning, he laughed nickels on Saturday night. And your bullets, they cannot harm him, though your knives tear him apart. Humiliation killed him, God bless his slow heart. Now he lived all alone in a rundown home near the side of the old railroad track, where the trains used to run, carried freight by the ton, blow the whistle and Billy way back. But the children around Billy's hometown seem to have nothing better to do than to run around his house with their tongues from their mouths to make fun of that crippled old fool. And he was just a gentle boy, a real fluorescent light. He cried pennies on Thursday morning, he laughed nickels on Saturday night. And your bullets, they cannot harm him, though your knives tear him apart. Humiliation killed him, God bless his little heart. Now some folks they wait, some folks they pray for Jesus to rise up again. But none of these folks in their holy clothes ever took Billy on as a friend. For pity's a crime, and it ain't worth a dime to a person who's really in need. You just treat them the same as you would your own needs the next time that your heart starts to bleed. For he was just a gentle boy, a real fluorescent light. He cried pennies on him apart. Humiliation killed him. God blesses the full heart. John Prine does it so much better, but the message is spot on. And I'll see you on the. Okay, welcome back. I hope the mic is working okay. I'm trying to use a slightly better mic than what's built into the camera. In any case, this is the fourth Sunday of Epiphany, and our readings today come from Luke chapter 4, verses 21 through 30. And I love this. I love this passage. Maybe I love like many of them. Then he began to say to them, "Today this scripture has been fulfilled in your hearing." All spoke well of him and were amazed at the gracious words that came from his mouth. They said, "Is not this Joseph's son?" He said to them, "Doubtless you will quote to me this proverb, 'Doctor, cure yourself.' And you will say, 'Do here also in your hometown the things we have heard you did at Capernaum.' And then he said, 'Truly I tell you, no prophet is accepted in the prophet's hometown. But the truth is, there were many widows in Israel in the time of Elijah, when the heaven was shut up 3 years and 6 months, and there was a severe famine all over the land. And yet Elijah was sent to none of them, except to a widow at Zarephath in Sidon. There were also many lepers in Israel in the time of the prophet Elisha, and none of them was cleansed except Naaman the Syrian.' When they heard this, all the synagogue were filled with rage. They got up, drove him out of the town, led him to the brow of a hill on which their town was built, so they might hurl him off the cliff. But he passed through the midst of them and went on his way." That's in the gospel. Okay. When I read this last one, I'm always reminded of Monty Python's famous movie, The Life of Brian, where the Roman council, I think, who is there in Jerusalem, keeps telling John Cleese, "Throw him to the floor. Throw him to the floor." Throw him off the cliff. This is a wonderful piece. And so just a bit of explication. Before this, Jesus has been reading the scripture to them. And they're like, "This is good stuff." And then he says, "I am the fulfillment of these prophecies." And then they said, "Okay, all right, so do something. Cure Sally over here, or fix Jonathan over there." And Jesus says, "Well, no prophet's accepted in his hometown." And then he goes and quotes scripture at him again, and he says, Elijah, when he did stuff, he went to this widow in Sidon, and then, Elisha, cured a leper. There are lots of lepers around Israel, but he cured one from Syria. So that made him angry, and they drove him out of the synagogue. I mean, I'm laughing because isn't this what goes on all the time right now? Okay, this passage is about inclusion. The people of Israel, this was a hereditary genetic thing. You couldn't just say, "Oh, I'm going to convert to being an Israeli." No, I mean, you were born into it. It was a blood thing. And here's Jesus saying, I'm doing things over here in Capernaum. I'm doing things with the Gentiles and all that kind of stuff. And they're saying, "Well, what about us? What about do us? Do us? We're your people." And he's like, "Well, that's not how it works." And they get very upset with him. And this reminds me so much of white entitlement and rage. Okay, so what you're seeing right now is you're saying, "Well, okay, we don't, why should we teach critical race theory in school? It makes me feel bad as a white person. Why are these white people teaching about critical race theory to my children and making me feel bad about having enslaved people from Africa and held them in perpetual servitude. I mean, and exploited their labor, and then when they were freed, we took their land and we took their financial districts. And why should I feel bad about that? And they get very angry and they throw stones at the people who bring that message, who compel us, who ask us to be inclusive. It's not a choice for us to be inclusive. It's what Jesus did. And you can't claim to be a Christian if you can't be inclusive. And I don't mean lip service, and I don't mean pity. Okay? When John Prine sings that song about Billy the Bum, okay, we don't use terms like bum anymore. We don't use terms like crippled old fool anymore. Okay? This song was 3 decades ago, probably, when he put it together. And at that time, we talked about mentally retarded people. And for John Prine to use this person, this individual who was physically challenged, mentally challenged, for who knows, whatever reason, who was ridiculed by the children, mocked by the children in the town. He has dreams. He loves every girl in his curly. Well, who doesn't? I mean, who doesn't love every girl in this curly-headed world? I certainly do. I mean, that speaks to me. It speaks to me as a parent. It speaks to me as a human being. It speaks to me as a male. It speaks to me on all kinds of different levels. You do. And so did Billy. He's just like us. And then, whistles the Billy waves at the trains as they go by. I mean, how many times as a kid did you, try to get that engineer to blow his whistle, right? I lived by railroad tracks at one point. Man, I just wait for him to show up. They'd blow that massive whistle, and it was awesome, just like Billy. And John says his most severe criticism, not for the children, but for the people in their holy cloaks who couldn't take him on as a friend, not to pity him, not to feel sad about him, not to send thoughts and prayers. I just find that so distasteful. So I'll sending thoughts and prayers. I don't have to do anything. I'm just going to sit here and put that on Facebook, and that's enough. It's not enough. That's not Christian. Christian means get up off your chair and go make a friend of somebody who's not like you. Okay, I've made a real effort of that over the years, and my only criteria is that they have a good heart. Okay, that people have a good heart. They have a good heart. I can take just about anything different from them. I've got English friends, I got Irish friends, I got Scottish friends, I got friends from India, I got friends who are Arabic, I got friends from Africa, I got friends from Latin America, and they're all really different. European friends. They're all really different, and I like to think. Okay, so I had this episode, this event, where I was told that I shouldn't hire this person because they were beneath another group of people, and I'm like, this is America, okay? We don't do that. And so then they changed it to, they said, well, he's too young. Here's the shovel. Just keep digging. Because we don't do that either. We don't discriminate based on race or nationality or religious creed or the color of your skin or your sexual orientation. This is who we are as Americans. And so when people say, well, we're a Christian country, well, we can be a Christian-like country by being inclusive of others. That's at least my take on it, which may be generous. I don't think we're a Christian country in the sense that God put us here for a purpose. I have no idea what God's purpose is in the world. It's not, back to Anselm's ontological proof for the existence of God. I can't know that, so I can't conceive of it. And you read John Prine, or you listen to John Prine sing that song, and about this person, and John says his criticism not for the social system, not for the for the religious people, people who claim to be Christians. And 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 you know what happens to people like John Pryor, who points the finger at people and say, really, you got to, they run him out of town. They don't say, thank you for the enlightenment. They run him out of town. They murdered Martin Luther King. Okay, his mother was assassinated. They murdered Bobby Kennedy. These were good people doing good things, and these were just high-profile people. There are crimes against people of color, against trans people, against people who identify differently and have different orientations every day. And we, it's not enough to turn a blind eye. It's not enough to be quiet. Okay, if you claim to be a Christian, then you owe it to them to be their friend. Okay, and I try really hard. I don't even like people very much, but I try really hard to be a good friend to people who are different than me, so I can be inclusive. Because I think that's a fundamental message of the New Testament. Right before this passage for this week's readings is Corinthians, and it's that famous passage everybody quotes mindlessly. You see it on Hallmark cards, love is patient, love is kind, all right? And if you read that seriously and not like a Hallmark card, that passage is compelling you to go out and actively love others. In these days where people are dying, and our friends are dying, our family is dying, and we're afraid of dying, and we see people getting so hateful and so, it's hard. It's hard on everybody. And it's times like this that you don't wait till it's over. You don't wait till your anxiety's past. It's when you're in the midst of your anxiety that you reach out and you become a friend to somebody. Because helping in a real, sincere way helps yourself. And this is what Jesus talks about when he talks about the kingdom of heaven. Well, that's my finger wagging moment. I guess all my sermons boil down to do better. In any case, I'll see you in 3 weeks, and God bless. Go love somebody hard.